Hello, welcome to my channel Journey to Hydroponics. My name is Pat, and in this video we will discuss about the maintenance and harvest of our basil plants, which is the ending of our 5-part basil forest series. One of the ways to encourage your basil plant to produce more leaves is to be able to learn how to prune it. So the best thing about growing basil is in the eating. There are lots of recipes that require basil. And how do you harvest? Well, what you do is you look for what I call nodes. Nodes are like when you see these two sets of leaves jutting out on the sides of the stalk. Well, that means that you can cut just above these nodes so that you can eat the top portion over here. And what happens is these nodes will now grow into new stalks. So let me show you an example of what I've done earlier with this plant. See, I cut it before there, and what happened is the two nodes have now branched out further. Okay, so that's how you can encourage your basil to produce more leaves. Let's take a look at another example over here. So I see another sets of nodes, so I can definitely cut right above that and eat the top leaves. But the thing that you want to discourage is the basil from flowering. So this is an example of a flower that's coming up on this basil. And what I will do is I would probably cut it. I'd cut it here, around here, because I want the basil, I want to encourage the basil to produce more leaves, not to flower. But if you're into getting the seeds of the basil, you might go ahead and let that flower up, generate the seeds. Let's look at the progression of a young basil plant. Here is one that is about 5 inches tall. You can see its roots have developed nicely, and its nutrient solution is kept at a level where there is just enough air gap for the top half of the roots. The plant is kept indoors using T8 type LED tube lights. You can see the second level nodes where the small leaves are branching out. When we cut above the nodes, it encourages the smaller leaves to branch out and create more leaves as it becomes a stalk. After several days, the small leaves have branched out into a stalk of its own and has nodes that I can now cut. This is the same basil that I'm now doing a second cutting. And now, 3 weeks after its first cut, the basil is already quite tall. When the basil plant is growing, I also suggest to check the container for debris every 3 weeks. If you find debris inside, whether it be roots or leaves or even the dreaded algae growing, simply empty out the solution and clean the container with tap water. Then wash the roots with tap water also. Return the basil back into the container with new solution, and don't forget to leave an air gap for the top half of the root. Basil is one of the first herbs I started with in hydroponics. Here are some tips to note for the maintenance of your plant. Make sure you mix properly the nutrient solution. Refill the container when necessary while leaving an area for the air or for the air gap. Keep the plant exposed to sunlight or indoor grow lights with a covered container. And check occasionally the contents of the container for any debris. If you do these steps, you will have basil that is healthy with leaves to enjoy for your salad or for cooking. Basil is an annual plant and will live around for 6 months. So learn to propagate the plant so that you can continue to have basil all year round. Thank you for watching, and happy basil forest growing. Bye-bye.